Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. There comes a time in life, in love, in relationships, when words are no longer needed. You've said all you could say. You've explained, you've tried, you've shown up. And yet you're met with confusion, excuses, or silence on the other end. That's when you learn the power of your silence. Silence is one of the most powerful tools a person can use in a relationship, yet it's often misunderstood. When you stop speaking, stop reaching out, stop explaining, and stop reminding someone of your worth, you create a space that forces truth to the surface. Words can be manipulated, actions can be disguised for a time, but silence, real, intentional silence, cannot be faked. It's like a mirror placed in front of someone's heart, reflecting their true intentions back to you. When a woman chooses silence, it's not because she has nothing to say. It's because she has said enough. She's given her time, her effort, her understanding, and now she's allowing the other person to reveal their real position without interference. When you keep talking, when you keep explaining, you give someone room to hide behind excuses. They can use your words to buy time, to shift blame, or to pretend they're more invested than they really are. But the moment you step back, they no longer have that shield. Now, the only thing left is their raw, unfiltered response to your absence. And that response tells you everything. It's in those quiet days and silent nights that you see where you truly stand. If a man truly cares for you, silence doesn't make him comfortable. It makes him restless. He feels the shift in energy. He notices the lack of calls, the absence of your laughter, the missing good morning text. His mind starts to question, to wonder if something is wrong, to miss the connection he's been used to. A man who values you will not let silence linger for long. He'll break it with his presence, his voice, his effort. That's how you know you matter, because your absence is felt as deeply as your presence. On the other hand, silence is a dangerous weapon against a man who only pretends to care. The moment you stop chasing, he stops showing up. He doesn't call, doesn't ask, doesn't even notice. Or worse, he notices but chooses to do nothing about it. This is the painful but necessary truth that silence uncovers. You don't have to beg for answers. You simply create the conditions where the truth reveals itself naturally. Silence also strips away the noise of your own emotions. When you're constantly talking, constantly in communication, it's easy to lose perspective. Your feelings can cloud your judgment, making you overlook red flags because you're so focused on maintaining the connection. But when you step back, you see things for what they really are. You see how much effort the other person is willing to make without your prompting. You see whether they're with you because they want to be or because you've made it easy for them. Another thing about silence is that it demands emotional maturity from the other person. Immature people often depend on constant attention to feel secure. When you take that away, they may react with anger, confusion, or complete withdrawal. But a man who genuinely values the relationship will handle the silence with care. He won't accuse. He won't play games. He'll simply step forward to close the gap. His actions will be consistent with his words, and that's the clearest proof you can ever ask for. There's also a subtle power in silence that shifts the dynamic of the relationship. When you stop giving constant access to yourself, you remind the other person that you are not a given. You are a choice. People tend to appreciate what they fear losing. When you've been too available, too accommodating, you unintentionally teach someone to take you for granted. But when you remove yourself from the center of their attention, they are forced to decide if they truly want you there. In relationships, many people fear silence because they think it will push the other person away. But here's the truth. It will only push away the ones who were never truly invested in the first place. The ones who care will step up, and the ones who don't will fall back. Silence doesn't ruin connections. It reveals the strength or weakness of the bond. And once you see the truth, you can decide your next move from a place of clarity rather than desperation. Silence, when used with intention, isn't about manipulation. It's about observation. You're not trying to make someone chase you out of pride. You're giving them the opportunity to show their true nature. And in doing so, you protect your own heart from investing in someone who doesn't value it. It's a form of self-respect, a boundary that says, I've given my part. Now it's your turn to show up. When you master this, you stop wasting time on guessing games. You stop trying to force someone to be who you want them to be. You let them be exactly who they are. And in that silence, their truth will speak louder than any promise they could ever make. When a man values you, your absence isn't something he can just brush off. It's not a detail he overlooks or a minor change he can ignore. It's a shift that echoes in his daily life. People often underestimate how much presence impacts someone until that presence is gone. If you've been the one who calls, checks in, listens to his problems, supports his dreams, and shares in his joys, then your silence is going to feel like a missing heartbeat. That's because genuine connections create emotional rhythms, and when you pull back, the rhythm changes. A man who truly values you won't need to be told that something is different. He will feel it. It will show up in the way he starts thinking about you at unexpected times, wondering why he hasn't heard from you, replaying the last moments you shared in his mind, and questioning if something is wrong. That inner restlessness is a clear indicator that you hold a place in his life that can't be easily replaced. Silence can be an alarm bell to the right man. He will notice it quickly because he's tuned into you. He pays attention even to the small things. So when those little things disappear, the morning message, the how was your day, call, the random meme or photo you'd send, he feels the void. And it's in this moment that his care is put to the test. Does he reach out right away? Does he check on you? Does he try to bridge that silence? His actions in response to your absence speak volumes about his investment in you. When a man values you, he doesn't take your presence for granted. He knows the effort you put into the relationship and the way you've been a steady part of his life. Your silence becomes a reminder that nothing is guaranteed, and it wakes up a sense of urgency in him. It's not about chasing you out of fear. It's about protecting something meaningful. He will want to make sure you're okay, and more importantly, he will want to make sure you know you matter to him. In healthy relationships, silence doesn't create distance for long because the man who cares will not allow it to. He will show up. He will call. He will come to see you. He will do what it takes to restore communication because for him, silence is uncomfortable when it comes from someone he values. He will feel the absence emotionally, and that feeling will drive him to act. It's important to understand that his response to your silence isn't about filling the space with just any words. It's about meaningful connection. A man who values you doesn't just talk to talk. He speaks with intention. He'll ask real questions. He'll listen, and he'll make it clear that your presence is important to him. This is what separates genuine care from surface level attention. Silence also has a way of clarifying priorities. When you step back, you see where you fit in his list of concerns. The man who values you will make time even when he's busy. He will prioritize checking in with you because he understands that relationships are built on consistent effort. And that effort doesn't fade when there's a pause. It increases. Your silence triggers his awareness that he could lose something valuable if he doesn't take care of it. For a man who truly cares, the absence of your presence isn't just about missing companionship. It's about missing you. The way you make him laugh, the way you understand him, the way you bring light into his day, those things can't be substituted. And when they disappear, he feels the difference deeply. This feeling becomes a motivation for him to close that gap as quickly as possible. The beauty of silence in this context is that it allows you to see his true commitment without asking for proof. You don't need to beg for his attention or force him to show he cares. His actions will reveal it naturally. If he values you, your absence will not be something he can ignore. It will be the thing that makes him stop, think, and move toward you with intention and urgency. If he doesn't care, your silence will be met with nothing but more silence. That's the part people often don't want to face because it's easier to believe that someone is just busy, distracted, or going through something. But the truth is, when you remove your energy, your effort, your presence, and there's no reaction, no concern, no curiosity, It speaks volumes about how much space you truly occupy in that person's life. It's not about whether they saw your silence. It's about whether they felt it. And if they didn't feel it, you've just learned a truth that words could never reveal. When a man doesn't care, your absence is not a disruption to his life. He continues as if nothing has changed. Your messages stop, and he doesn't even notice. Your calls don't come, and he doesn't wonder why. Your presence fades, and he feels no urgency to pull it back. That's because for him, your energy wasn't something he valued enough to miss. It was something he tolerated or took for granted. Silence in this case is not uncomfortable for him. It's convenient. It frees him from the effort he wasn't willing to give in the first place. This is one of the hardest truths to accept because it strips away the excuses you may have been holding on to. You can no longer tell yourself he's just bad at communicating or needs space when you've already given him all the space in the world and he still chooses to fill it with nothing. His lack of action is the answer. The absence of effort is the clearest effort you'll ever see because choosing not to act is still a choice. The silence in these moments becomes a magnifying glass. It shows you exactly how much or how little you matter to him without the need for confrontation. You don't have to beg him to explain himself. You don't have to guess where you stand because his inaction tells you. And as painful as that can be, it's also freeing. It removes the fog of uncertainty and replaces it with clarity. When you've been giving your all in a connection, the realization that the other person doesn't feel the same is a heavy one. But silence makes that realization quicker. Instead of months or years spent trying to decode mixed signals, you get your answer in days or weeks. The moment you stop making the effort, you see whether there's any effort on his side. And when there isn't, you understand that you were the one holding the connection together the whole time. The absence of reaction is not just about ignoring you. It's about what it reveals about his priorities. People will always make time for what they value. If you're not on that list, your silence won't be an interruption. It will be a relief. That might be a bitter truth, but it's also the kind of truth that saves you from wasting your heart on someone who never intended to handle it with care. Silence has a way of cutting through illusions. Maybe you thought he cared because he said the right things when you were around. Maybe you believed his promises because they sounded convincing in the moment. But when those words are tested in the absence of your presence, when there's nothing prompting him to reach out, and he still chooses to stay silent, that's when you see the difference between performance and reality. A man who cares will make the effort unprovoked. A man who doesn't will disappear into the quiet without a second thought. It's important to realize that no response is a response. Silence on his end isn't just empty space. It's a statement. It's him telling you, without saying it, that you're not a priority. It's him showing you, without action, that he's content with you being gone. And as hurtful as that is, it's also the clearest indication of where you truly stand. The real strength in this moment comes from not breaking your own silence to pull a reaction out of him. Because the temptation will be there. To text him first, to ask if everything's okay, to give him one more chance to prove himself. But when you do that, you interrupt the truth that's trying to show itself. By staying silent, you give him every opportunity to step up on his own. And if he doesn't, you don't have to wonder anymore. When a man doesn't care, your silence is a test he will fail every time. Not because he's too busy or because he didn't notice, but because he doesn't value the connection enough to preserve it. You could go days, weeks, even months without speaking, and he would treat it as if nothing was missing. And that tells you everything you need to know about how important you really are in his world. Silence is not just the absence of noise. It's the presence of truth. It creates a space where there are no excuses, no distractions, no sweet words to cover up reality. In that space, you see his priorities, his character, and his feelings for exactly what they are. And when those feelings are weak or non-existent, silence exposes it faster and more clearly than any confrontation ever could. Stepping back is one of the most underestimated moves you can make when you want clarity about a person's role in your life. In relationships, it's natural to get caught up in constant communication, in always being available, in making sure the connection stays alive. But when you step back, when you create space between you and the other person, you remove the safety net they've grown used to. Suddenly, they no longer have your presence on demand, and that change forces the truth to surface. Stepping back isn't about punishment. It's about perspective. When you're always in the middle of the relationship dynamic, it's hard to see things clearly. Emotions, habits, and routine can blur reality. But when you remove yourself from the constant back and forth, you gain a different view. You start to see the patterns more clearly. You notice who checks in when you're not the one initiating. You notice who asks how you're doing without being prompted. You notice who values the bond enough to keep it alive without your constant effort. This space you create also serves another purpose. It gives the other person the chance to show up without you carrying the weight of the relationship. Often, people assume things are fine because you're the one keeping the conversations going, making plans, and showing care. But when you step back, the responsibility shifts to them. That's when you see whether they're willing to put in the same energy you've been giving. If they care, they will notice your absence, and they will take action to bridge the gap. They'll call, they'll text, they'll ask questions, and they'll make an effort because they don't want the distance to grow. They won't just assume you'll always be there. They want to make sure you are. But if they don't care, your stepping back will be met with indifference. They'll let the space grow wider, and they won't do anything to close it. That's the kind of truth you can't unsee once you've experienced it. Stepping back also protects your emotional energy. When you're constantly giving without receiving in equal measure, it drains you. You start to feel underappreciated, unseen, and maybe even taken for granted. Creating distance allows you to pull your energy back to yourself. It reminds you that you have a life outside of this person, and it gives you the mental space to evaluate whether this connection is truly serving you or just consuming you. There's a subtle strength in letting go of control and seeing what happens naturally. When you step back, you stop forcing outcomes. You stop trying to manage how the other person feels about you. You stop overthinking how to make the relationship work. Instead, you give them the opportunity to either rise to the occasion or show you they were never fully invested. And that's the beauty of it. Stepping back removes guesswork. You get to witness the truth without pushing for it. Sometimes stepping back will surprise you in the best way. The person might step forward, show more initiative, and prove that they value you. Other times it will show you that you've been holding on to someone who was only there because you made it easy for them. Either way, you come out with clarity, and clarity is what allows you to make choices that honor your worth. In the end, stepping back is not about playing games. It's about trusting that the right people will close the distance you create. It's about allowing actions to speak louder than words and letting those actions guide your decisions. By doing so, you protect your heart from unnecessary hurt and make room for connections that are mutual, genuine, and build on effort from both sides.